Hello, welcome to today's episode of Juice and the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Tracy.
And I am your host, Corwin Heller.
And I'm all jetsed up today for no particular reason, but I figured this was as good a reason as any to wear the Jets hats. I have two Jets hats. I have like 9 Yankees hats. I have more non-Yankees baseball hats than I do Jets hats because I never need to be identified as one out of my house that badly.
And who wears like NFL hats all that much compared to MLB?
Well, and I think that's the other thing about it is that they're just not as interesting, especially because the NFL has done that thing recently where like every team's hat is exactly the same, just like the color scheme and then like the some small semblance of logo changes,
Like, are
and
you
they
talking
just
about like
suck.
the
On-field
draft
ones,
hats? Oh, the on-field ones?
both,
Got it.
honestly.
Oh, how they change it just a little bit every year, but
Yeah,
they're
like I
all
think
essentially the same. Okay.
this year's or last year's it was like that weird like trapezoidal shape with like your team's color in it and then like a small version of your logo and then like all the hats were like I don't know black or gray or some shit. They were awful. They're so bad. Baseball hats are at least interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
not the point of the show. um so today is MLB Bold Predictions. It is that beautiful and wonderful time of year where we make outlandish claims about things that are very unlikely to happen, some more than others, about the wide world of baseball. But before we get there, the Dolphins made a lot of noise within the span of like an hour and a half, wheeling and dealing, and I think probably the truest sense of the word that I've ever seen, in which they uh, traded away. So they first off, you know what? Let's actually backtrack it a little bit. The Dolphins had the third overall pick because they had traded Laramie Tunsil to the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened a while ago. That was not a recent move. They traded that pick to the Niners to go back to 12th in the draft where the Niners sat, in addition to other stuff. We'll get into the entirety of that part. And then they traded back up into the top 10 by going up to 6 with the Eagles. So the Miami draft, I mean, they really that GM must have felt quite large after making these trades, man. It is their pick locked in at 18, the Miami Dolphins true first round pick for this year, locked in at 18, and then they bounced from 3 to 12 to 6. And again, in the span of like an hour and a half. Pretty incredible.
It's amazing how quickly the Dolphins have kind of turned themselves into a serious future contender. They're definitely not a contender now. And as bad as their team was 2 years ago, as good as their defense got last year, the potential they have to just blow this team out of the water, and that was a poor idiom choice, but their ability to turn this team into a serious Super Bowl contender in a short period of time, all because they trade Laramie Tunsil, is fascinating. Like, they really are putting themselves in a position to, fight off the Bills for the title of the I almost said NL East, then I almost said AL East, and then I remembered this is not baseball, it's the AFC East. Um, they I mean, they're sticking with Tua Tagovailoa for the season. That much is obvious, trading back out of a guaranteed top 3 QB spot because they were 3. Uh, but they also are in a position where if they go through this season and realize, hey, Tua's probably not the guy, they're still in a position where they have so much draft capital, they could get their guy next year. They could hold off for 2 years and get their guy 2 years from now. They are in a very, very good position to build a team that can compete regardless of how any one of the next 2 or even 3 drafts go for them.
I mean, truly, just to get an idea of their full draft capital this season, this draft, I should say, 2021, they have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third and a fifth, and 2 sevenths. But who gives a shit? In 2022, they have San Francisco's first round pick. They don't have their own, and then they have 1 second and then 2 thirds. And then in 2023, they have 2 first round picks and a second and a third. So they have 5 first round picks in the next 3 drafts, including the one coming up in a month. I mean, it's so much capital densely packed. It's like what Corwin said. This is such a, because if they wanted to spend time building around to it and not to it, and then next season, 2 seasons from now, they've done the Tua Tagovailoa experiment and it didn't pan out, they're still in a position to move up to, if they didn't perform bad enough, like they don't have to tank if the Tua experiment doesn't work out. The way that the Jets basically had to ride out Sam Darnold, even though he was bad. Granted, the roster had a lot of other issues too, but the Jets didn't have quite so much the capital to do what they now are planning on doing, which is, drafting second overall. If they didn't ride out Sam Darnold and just let that team fucking suck, keep Adam Gase for the full season and just be bad. The Dolphins don't have to really do that with how much they just have in the draft to throw at their problem. And that's a really important position to be in, because it means that they never have to tear down in order for them to try to regain some success down the road.
I honestly wish I remembered the extent to which I agreed with or disagreed with the Laramie Tunsil trades, or trade as far as return goes, and some subsequent trades that happened, enough time ago where I no longer remember. But hindsight's 2020, obviously, and looking back, it's pretty amazing how well they were able to not only luck into getting Tunsil in the first place, but working the Texans and being able to consistently turn these trades out that are giving them fantastic draft capital. It's really great.
So yeah, let's get into the trades themselves. The first trade, Miami Dolphins traded to San Francisco. So this is from Miami to San Fran, the number 3 overall pick, the number 12 overall pick. Oh, sorry, no. Oh, this site combined the San Francisco and Philadelphia trades. I do not like that. That sucks. That's so fuck you, CBS. Your website's trash. All right, fine. So then they traded to San Francisco the 3rd overall pick to San Fran in exchange for the 12th overall pick, their 2022 first round pick, their 2022 third round pick, and their 2023 first round pick. So all together, just to swap places in the draft, all right, just to swap places, San Francisco gave up 2 first round picks and a third. Corbin, give us your expertise on this.
Please don't say it's expertise, please. I like this for both sides. The Dolphins obviously do not need to draft at number 3. The value that they can get from moving back is something, their position, they had a plan out to move back up, do what they needed to do. I like it for them. They got in my mind, the correct amount of draft capital to move forward and do this, and it was in their best interest to do so. That being said, on the San Francisco side, I still like it. It's essentially an additional 2 first-round picks to move up from, what was it, 12 to
3.
12 to 3. That's not a huge amount. That really isn't. Especially when you're going from a position where you may be getting a top 3, getting the number 3 wide receiver. You're looking at like Mac Jones, maybe, to, okay, you can get Justin Fields, you could get Trey Lance, whatever Kyle Shanahan thinks would fit his system better. And honestly, I think, it comes down to, in Shanahan we trust. I trust that he sees one of those 2 guys as someone who will fit his system well, will be able to pick up the system quickly, and will be able to put San Francisco in a contending position early. To me, that's Justin Fields. I don't think Trey Lance is in that spot yet. I just think Justin Fields is in that tier above him. Trey Lance just doesn't have enough film out there that we can trust it, especially being one game as a sophomore where he did not play all that well throwing the ball, and a true freshman year playing against, FCS opponents where he was absolutely electric and lights out the entire season. Didn't throw a single interception. How you go 40-0, that's, I don't know. But to me, Justin Fields has shown enough to be the number 3 guy. And hey, if San Francisco gets him and he works out as one would expect him to, as his level of prospect grade, essentially, whatever you want to call it, I think this will work out well for both teams, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, if San Francisco doesn't have a personnel problem right now, especially one that doesn't need to be, that would need to be addressed with first round picks in the next couple seasons. Those are typically reserved for your high end defensive ends, your high end offensive linemen, sometimes high end wide receivers, depending on where you land in the draft, and quarterbacks. And as it stands right now, they're pretty well set in those positional groups. Their real issue is what is the long term or fucking short term viability of Jimmy Garoppolo as your starter. And this is exactly the type, because if Jimmy G doesn't work out this season, they're fucked. Because this team is too good for them to wind up at a high draft pick from losing too many games.
Absolutely.
And this team, if they end up not being good enough to get over the hump and then lose Jimmy G in free agency, or let him walk in free agency since this is the last year of his contract upcoming, I believe, then it's like, what the fuck do? You kind of hose yourself. Doing this now gives whoever they draft a chance to either, one, win a quarterback competition, which I don't think is required for San Francisco necessarily for them to be good. They don't think they need to like jump into it, but if a kid did, then cool. Or option 2, let him sit for a year, get used to the whole NFL thing, and then pick up starting duties next season. And again, they're pretty well set. This is a very, very well constructed team. There's not a lot of obvious. I'm really struggling to think of any obvious hole in this team at all. And that's the type of team that you can kind of do maintenance work on with value picks in the second and later rounds, and good budget free agent signings, or even good expensive free agent signings if you're not paying for a quarterback and are instead paying for paying a rookie salary. So it just works. It works really well for them. And then, Dolphins get the obvious advantage of just more draft capital. So, all right, yeah, really, Jesus. But the Dolphins, Diano could have stopped there. Shout out to Passover. I got my Diet Dr. Brown's. I had a brisket today, potato kugel, haroset, maror. We're doing the whole Jew gang business. I made a matzo ball soup. Shit was banging. Anyway, not the point. For anyone who does not know, Diano, it would have been enough. You say that every passage. God could have given us the Torah. Diano would have been enough, but no, he kept giving. The Dolphins, they kept giving. So they did another trade.
I don't get that joke, but I can accept it.
Diana. The Dolphins then took that 12th overall pick that they had acquired from San Francisco, packaged that with a 4th round pick this season and their 2022 first round pick, and gave that to Philadelphia in exchange for the number 6 overall pick in this draft, as well as the Eagles' 5th round pick, which comes in at the 156th pick in the draft. Corwin, what does this tell you?
I mean, obviously there's guys there in the top 12 that, or I'm sorry, I need to look up this trade. I need to actually see the physical, like the pieces in front of me. Otherwise, I just will not be able to acknowledge it. But this is difficult.
I just put it in the chat.
Thank Christ, because Google was failing me.
Dude, we have talked about on the show so many times, but looking up trades for whatever reason is the stupidest and hardest thing to do effectively. Why there isn't, like, when you Google, like, how to make ice cream, and Google gives like a quick little blurb right at the fucking top that shows you at least like part of like what it is you're looking up. Why that doesn't exist for drafts or trades where it just tells you the important bits of the trade, I have no fucking clue, but whatever. Sorry, you may continue.
Thank you. I really just I don't want to give a grade for this yet because it's so difficult for us to judge this and who will be there at 6 until draft day. I mean, at this point, my assumption is Lawrence 1, Wilson 2, Fields 3, either Trey Lance or Penei Sewell at 4, either Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase at 5, and then at 6, that would leave, a guy like Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase. It's a lot of different ways this could fall. At the end of the day, Trey Lance isn't someone they're probably going to be looking for at 6. Penei Sewell, I would think there's a 1 or 2% chance makes it to 6. Jamar Chase could be there, and I think is the most likely guy to go there, especially with Mike Gesicki as the Kyle Pitts mold wide or tight end there, excuse me, as a receiving threat, not quite at Kyle Pitts' caliber, obviously, but I don't think they would double up at that position, especially when they play such similar styles. But if Chase is gone, Pitts is gone, I guess that does leave Penei Sewell, and yeah, that's an easy pick for the Dolphins to make. So while I don't want to jump in and give this a solid grade now, I think the options that they'll have are really, really good. I think it's a really good position to be in, and 6 is one of those things where there's both the opportunity to move up because the Eagles need capital to build that team, and there's a fair amount of certainty there about who they can get. And if they're comfortable getting either one of those 3 guys, or they're looking at a Devonta Smith, a Jalen Waddle, hey, the price is right. It's really not a huge amount to give up. Basically, moving back from a 4th to a 5th round pick, moving back 23 picks, not a huge amount, or 33 picks, excuse me. Math is hard. And a first rounder that could be anything. It could be a top 10. It could be a late 20s. Who fucking knows? But if there's a guy there that they think is going to be the guy, I think this is going to be a good trade for the Dolphins. I think it works out for them. And for the Eagles, I get why they want more picks and they want more capital to build this team. But boy, there are some good options there for them to take.
So, sorry, I don't know if this is audible, but like the wind where I live just picked up to such a strong degree that it's kind of wild. So if you hear any crashing or clanging, it's just like curtains slapping around. But the wind here just got, which had been still for a good few hours, just got very loud. But anyway, yeah, this is a good example of the Dolphins capitalizing on having a high draft pick and deciding that they don't need it, which, like you said, they didn't. But also having a concept of what availability of players that they wanted to, and made use of the fact that they had so much a stupid degree of capital that they were able to get back up without really affecting their immediate or long-term future very much by doing so. It'll be interesting to see which direction they end up going. Honestly, if they draft Penei Sewell and get another offensive tackle to like round out this arc from Laramie Tunsil to another offensive lineman, it would be kind of hilarious. So that'd be fun. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. The Eagles are a whole nother mess. God, they need everybody, which is astonishing because that division is just so bad. You'd think like, oh, their improvement margin, the margin of improvement that they need to have is so small. It's like, yeah, but everyone's awful, which means that everyone's taking the same kind of steps forward, you'd hope. And this is their first season going to have to really lean on a full season of not Justin Fields, what's his name? What's their quarterback's name?
Who?
Eagles.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Thank you. I think we would both agree that he is likely at this point in his career better than Carson Wentz. Still something of a gamble when you're going with a new guy, or at least something of an unknown.
especially when he's only started a handful of games. And boy, the supporting cast in Philadelphia is not ideal for a young mid-round QB pick to work with. But like I've said before, I have a lot of faith in Hurts to perform and rise up to the challenge.
The only other thing I wanted to mention with these trades is the fact that the Dolphins made this trade at 3 and not the Jets at 2. In theory, the Dolphins don't need the 3rd overall pick because usually those top 1 to 4 picks are very predicted to be very quarterback heavy.
Mm-hmm.
What ends up actually happening on draft night is what it is. Deals get made, what have you. But the first 4 picks, 4 to 6 picks, usually tend to be skew very QB heavy in mocks because bad teams are usually quarterback light. And if the Jets had faith in Sam Darnold, then in theory, they kind of have no reason to hold on to the number 2 overall pick, especially when there's quarterback needy teams that would want to go get it, i.e. the San Francisco 49ers. And I find it so hard to believe that the Niners wouldn't have called the Jets first, or I guess maybe second, behind, the Jags, about making this trade, and the Jets not taking it seems to be revealing in a certain way where one might say, hey, Sam Darnold, pack a bag. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think there was any reality where the Jets look at Sam Darnold and think, no, we're gonna hold on to him and see what he does rather than getting a guy like Zach Wilson. I mean, yes, I fully believe Sam Darnold with the right cast around him, with the right coaches around him, with the right talent around him, could be a fairly good QB in the NFL. I think if the Jets were to take that risk, have him continue to be the starter, give him an extension, pick up his 5th-year option, and either take a guy like Penei Sewell, take a guy like Jamar Chase, trade back and acquire more capital, rather than taking a guy like Zach Wilson, would just be incredibly foolish. As much as we always talk about needing a foundation in place before getting your QB, the fact of the matter is Zach Wilson is one of those guys who has a chance to have a very special arm in the NFL. And, hoping that Sam Darnold's problems are purely Adam Gase related and not necessarily just the regression under the Jets, anything involving the Jets as of now is, again, I think a little foolish. So I would be absolutely blown away if they were to do something like that. So I am not surprised in the slightest that the Jets were very, very firm in staying at 2. If they were even called about it, I mean, if I were the 49ers, I wouldn't even think about reaching out to the Jets to move up to 2 over the Dolphins at 3.
I think you do it for due diligence, but for the same reason, like, I could imagine them calling the Jaguars at 1 again just for the due diligence of it.
Right.
But I can't imagine you going to that phone call going, oh shit, we are the 1st overall pick.
Right. I do agree with that, but there would have to be 0 expectations going along with that call.
Yeah, like the call would go from the 49ers for novice. The call to the Jets would be something like, hey guys, you feel like trading? Whereas the call to the Dolphins would start, so we have this trade idea. Like, it would be a lot more energetic. There wouldn't be a big sigh at the beginning. There'd be a modicum of hope. You'd think like, hey, let's make a deal. Instead of starting off like, so you guys feel like moving down from 2? Because the answer is no. But anyway. Yeah, man. Things are shaking up. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting. Anything else on these 2 trades before we move on into bold predictions?
If you had to guess to see who would be the winner out of each of these 3 trades, or each of these 3 teams involving these trades, who would your prediction be at this point?
In order, I would say Niners, Dolphins, Eagles. The Niners are so good that if they do get a high marquee quarterback, I mean, they could be set for the next fucking 4 to 8 years, depending on how they let it shake out and how the progress of that quarterback goes. I mean, the team's so good that even if the quarterback they get is mediocre, I mean, that team is just so well constructed they could be competitive for 3 to 4 years on its own right. So I really don't think the picks they give up matters much. The Dolphins, these are great trades for the Dolphins. Their division is hard, and they have some holes, but by and large, they're improving. This will definitely help, but I'm looking at immediate and sustainable success. It's just their roster isn't quite there yet for this to be as successful of a trade as the Niners version of it is. And then the Eagles are just such a fucking mess. I mean, they did this because they basically have to. I mean, It'd be criminal if they didn't. And this is helping solve a problem. This isn't solving any problems on its own, though.
Yeah, I would definitely, in my mind, just the quantity over quality. Being able to still get a top 6 guy, still being able to get, essentially Jamar Chase, and which is my prediction, and getting a second first rounder next year, getting a second first rounder the year after that. I think the Dolphins have the highest probability of coming out the victors here. Just, QBs, especially the number 3 QB off the board, success rate isn't ideal. I mean, the third QB taken in the draft with Darnold was Josh Allen, so that's going to be a shitty example. But he was only 2 of the 5 in that first round. Well, no, I guess Lamar Jackson was the third. Never mind. My point doesn't work, but my point this time will. Success rate is so wishy-washy.
The facts are not my favor, but I believe what I believe.
Just it's that one specific one that I was getting too specific with. Regardless, putting all your eggs in one basket isn't always the best idea, especially with the NFL draft. Quantity over quality, still being all first-round picks. I'm putting Dolphins at 1, 49ers at 2, and the Eagles at a clear number 3.
Okay, who was the third quarterback taken in the 2019 draft, and where was he taken?
2019 draft?
Yes.
Shit. Was that the Kyler year?
So Kyler Murray was the first overall pick.
Shit. God, this is gonna fucking kill me, and it's gonna drive me up a fucking wall.
Man, this is a terrible year for quarterbacks. Holy
I
shit.
know, like that's why it's so hard. Oh God, who was even in that year? Who were the young starting quarterbacks? Fuck, I don't know.
Second quarterback taken, number 6 overall, Daniel Jones of the Giants.
Oh, it was Dwayne Haskins to the Redskins at 17.
Third, 15, but yeah.
15, okay.
The next quarterback taken after that was Drew Lock in the second round.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is such a bad quarterback draft.
Who was 4?
Let's see. Scrolling. We're in the third round. Scrolling. Oh my God. I still don't see one.
Are you on Wikipedia?
Yeah. All right.
You can sort by position.
A supplemental pick at number 100 to the Panthers, Will Grier.
I actually really liked Will Grier that year.
It took 100 picks to get the 4th quarterback taken that year.
Yeah, that was not a good year.
Oh, man, that is so bad. I mean, if there was ever a year for the Giants to burn a high draft pick on a running back. Oh, why they
2018. What's funny though is they probably would have taken Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and they fucking should have. I mean, obviously, retrospect, it looks really bad because he looks really bad. But still, it doesn't matter. They should have though.
Yeah, it's one of those arguments I saw on Twitter not too long ago, and it's like, yeah, Saquon. I didn't think they should go running back at 2. Saquon was just so far and away the best prospect that year. I get why they thought he would be the guy, but man, just overall value wise, that's so tough.
Yeah. All right. Now let's get into bowl predictions. Let's do it. It's time. I forget how you have yours set up. What do you have first? So if you're new to the show, Okay, cool. If you're new to the show, we do awards and championship predictions, and then we do 10 bowl predictions. We actually try a little bit on the awards and championship predictions, and then the bowl predictions are nonsense. So let's start with the awards and championship predictions. I tried, Corwin. I tried to not pick players you would pick. I really had to think about it though, because I was convinced I was going to run into this problem. So
I did similar, but made some predictions that I adjusted. Like I tried to do the same, but there was like one or two where it's like, it's too much of a layup, but
yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start for the awards?
I think I started last year, so I'll let you go first.
Wow, you have a memory that runs to last year.
I
Impressive.
think I remember it just because it's like, I don't want to be on the spot. This is tough and whatever.
All right, fair. All right, so for my American League MVP this season, I had him last year too. I'm picking him again this year, in part because I didn't want to pick the obvious one. I went with Aaron Judge. Did you pick Aaron Judge too?
No, I just went with the guy I picked last year too.
Mike Trout.
Then I did not pick the guy I picked last year. Never mind.
None
I don't
of us
have my
picked
last
Mike
year's.
Trout?
Guess not. I went with Shohei Otani.
Ah.
Yeah, I guess I picked him for Cy Young, maybe.
Ooh, no, you had a bold prediction.
I had something about. I mean, I could pull it up. It's not that hard.
I don't remember.
It's just, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you went with Aaron Judge. I went with Shohei Otani. He's going to make a couple appearances on this list. That's just how it's going to be. Winning MVP as both a pitcher and batter. But yeah, I think this is the year he puts it all together. I've had the utmost faith in him for so long. I think this is his year. Do you want to give a rundown of Aaron Judge?
Just to speak on Otani real quick. I mean, the bar for Otani to win MVP is a lot lower than I think people think it is. And it's not because it's not to discount his batting, and that's not to discount his pitching. It's just that nobody does both. It's the same thing that happened when he won Rookie of the Year. He wasn't the best batter that season. He was really fucking good out of the rookie class. The only person you could really argue was better than him, I think, is probably Miguel Andujar that season. And he didn't really pitch much that year because he got hurt so early on. But the fact that he did, no one does both, and no one does both competently. So for Otani to win MVP, it'll be an interesting discussion, because if he puts up 2 WAR as a hitter and 2 WAR as a pitcher, I mean, that's really fucking impressive. Like, that's really fucking impressive. He puts up 3 each. I mean, that's what I mean by the bar is lower. It's just what he does is so unique. It's going to be hard to. It's going to be very easy, I should say, to make a case for him when it comes time for voting. But again, we'll see what happens with it. Judge, I just didn't want to pick Mike Trout. Because it's easy to pick Mike Trout and almost always be right. So I didn't want to pick Mike Trout. And fuck it. Yankee got picked. That's my rationale.
Ooh, there. Bold from the diehard Yankees fan.
All right. National League MVP, and I had written down your guy first, and I had to erase it because I knew you'd pick him. So I went with another New York name, Francisco Lindor. First year in Queens. There's also going to be a lot of media attention around him because blockbuster trade, now plays in New York, primed to sign a massive over $300 million extension with the Mets at some point this season. That means he's going to be getting a ton of attention. Plus, he's really fucking good. One of the best defensive shortstops in the league, switch hitter, hits bombs. I think if he lives up to the Lindor brand name, this is his award.
You know what? I'll be honest. Francisco Lindor, he's the best shortstop in baseball. He's playing, under the big lights of New York, even though they are comparatively the small lights of New York. But for my prediction, I didn't pick him.
You didn't? Who'd you pick?
I didn't pick him. I think it's such a obvious choice for me that I wanted to be a little more bold. I went with Juan Soto.
You know what's funny? I wrote down Juan Soto second, but then I was like,
Yeah.
Corwin might pick Juan Soto too. And then I
Yeah.
went with Lindor.
I fucking love Fernando Tatis. It is well known. I adore him as a player. He is my daddy. But I think once, fuck me. Fuck, hold on, sorry. I have this thing where like if I stretch my toes in a weird way, like it like dislocates a little bit. It's like, oh fuck me. Ow. Fuck. All right. We should be good.
Okay.
Let's cut that. That was ridiculous.
Nope.
Shit.
We
Whatever.
don't cut anything here.
But yeah, I think Juan Soto is gonna have a tremendous year. I think the only thing that would put Fernando Tatis ahead of Juan Soto, who I think statistically are going to have equally excellent seasons. If you compare the two statistics, obviously they're going to have different categories where they're succeeding. They're both going to have a good number of steals. They're both going to hit a bunch of home runs. I think Juan Soto is definitely going to have the patience numbers. He's going to have the stuff. I think Fernando Tatis is going to be a little more electric in the field, just the way he plays, and he's definitely going to have the attention, especially playing for a team like the Padres. I do think the amount of stars on the Padres this year, even with how good they are going to be, and that's always consideration, I think it's going to kind of muddle the votes for San Diego players. And I think Juan Soto would kind of break out of that tight race.
I mean, he's one of the best hitters in baseball already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's so much fun to watch. Great lefty bat. Plays on a marquee team with the Washington Nationals. Now that duality franchise won their World Series. Oh God, and he's a fun dude to root for. He plays baseball in a very fun way. I am interested by the fact you did not choose Fernando Tatis Jr., but I'm proud of you, buddy. That's growth. That's growth right there.
It's growth.
All right. Next, Cy Young.
Sure.
So I went with another pick I made last season because honestly, I just don't care about this group for the AL. I went with Garrett Cole.
I think we need to stop kind of just playing games with each other because I went with Garrett Cole. I think we need to stop predicting each other and just predict ourselves. This was the one where it's like, I know Josh is going to pick him. I thought about, like, I went through all of the AL pitchers, all of the guys who could be, the Cy Young winner, Shane Bieber, Lucas Giolito.
Those were two names I considered. Yeah.
Yep. And then like at the end of the day, it's like, with the question marks amongst the Yankees starting rotation with injuries, the other teams that regressed in the American League, I think Garrett Cole is just going to be a star that cannot be dulled. And I just think he's just going to outshine the rest of the competition by a country mile. And I just think he's going to run away with it this year.
Yeah. I also
he's going to have a vendetta, I think, this year.
A Pat vendetta. I think it's a very specific baseball joke. I think it was also so tough to judge because last season was short. Like Shane Bieber is going to be a great pitcher again this season because there's no way you can regress that hard. But it's also going to be a longer season. He's going to have to face teams that aren't in the AL Central. Same thing goes for Lucas Giolito. And to Garrett Cole's case, he got off to like a relatively slow start. Which doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but when you're trying to determine Cy Young wins and you only pitch in 12 to 16 games in a season, having two or three shit starts early on, that's a lot of your season. And over a full 30 to 35 start season, who gives a shit? But the numbers are just so much smaller. That's what really did this for me. It's just who the fuck knows. There's too much to consider. So Garrett Cole's an easy name to pick, and he's on the Yankees, and I don't care.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Which goes much for my next pick for National League Cy Young. I went with Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's kind of the Mike Trout MVP, Garrett Cole Cy Young, just Jacob deGrom, Cy
He is
Young. It's a
somehow
layup.
throwing harder in spring training than he ever has before, which just stop. It doesn't make any sense. And his team's getting better at hitting. And that's just a recipe for Garrett Cole getting those all important wins. But also the fact that he just won't stop being good. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I was here predicting the predictions. I knew that was going to be the obvious choice. I kind of wanted to mix it up, and I wanted to stick with the vendettas this year. So I went with my boy Yu Darvish. He lost out
I
last year to
wrote down
Trevor
Yu Darvish
Bauer.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna be, in a competition with Trevor Bauer this year, Padres, Dodgers. I think he's going to be locked in. I think the Padres are going to be able to get him a huge number of wins. Comparatively, Jacob deGrom, there's no way the Mets are offensively as bad as they have been the past couple of years, just with the improvements they've made. So I definitely think there's not any chance Jacob deGrom wins as few games as he has, the past 3-4 years. But I just think Yu Darvish is going to be super electric, and I just think he puts in a crazy season for the Padres.
Another great pick. I mean, Yu Darvish is stuff. He is literally the all-time leader in strikeouts per nine. He is a very good pitcher.
I mean,
he's so underappreciated.
I think there was one spring training game where one of the reporters asked him, like, how many pitches did you throw today? And he was like, seven different pitches. And that's just fucking stupid. A guy with that many pitches that he could confidently use. Holy shit.
I would also like to shout out, because it feels like it got undermentioned last year, is that the Mets did have a team OPS plus of 120, which is really fucking good. It usually we shit on the Mets because they have a weird inability to hit in their own goddamn ballpark, and it makes very little sense. It's very stupid, and it literally can't truly be explained. But last season they actually did well as a team. So we'll see if they can band together once again. Anyway. All right. Next award, Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there was a number of good contenders for the American League, and I'm not convinced this guy's going to get called up early enough, for him to get full considerations. But he has been one of the most talked about names in the American League prospect system for the last 3 seasons. I'm going with Wander Franco.
See, I am just not as confident that the Rays are, pushing to bring him up. Especially this kind of seems like a retooling year for them almost. I just don't think their pitching is going to be in a position for them to contend again. Then again, who the fuck knows? I want Wander Franco in MLB. I just am not as confident that he's going to be there. So I went with another prospect that's kind of shot up the rankings lately. I went with Jared Kelenic.
However, yeah.
I don't know.
I was mainly between the two of them. Neither of them are going to start on the major league team. They've both already been optioned to AAA.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. Jared Kelenic is going to come up this season. I think it's all but certain. The only reason he wouldn't is if there is, I don't know, he gets hurt. That's literally the only reason I could possibly think of. I'm thinking,
or if they're still fucking angry that he didn't sign that contract last year.
Yeah. I think Wander Franco is going to make an appearance this season. They teased him possibly being added to the roster during the World Series last year, and I think that the Rays understand at some point they're going to have to, and this might actually be a season to lean a bit more on hitting if you're losing so many valuable pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems to make sense from a utilization of your own human capital kind of point of view of it, but I'm operating under the assumption he does. I really do think he will this year, but I mean, if it come the All-Star break and he hasn't been, that basically puts him out of the running. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So for my National League one, I took the easy way out on this, and I bet we picked the same person. I'm going with Cabrian Hayes of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I also went with Cabrian Hayes of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
He is such a fun fucking ball player, and the amount of playing time he got last season showed that, one, he is easily the most fun part of the Pirates already, and two, he is easily the best player on the Pirates already. And with how destitute that roster is, he's got a decent chance of having a standout season in comparison to the talent he plays around. So,
oh my God.
I mean, it could be an interesting season because you might see opposing teams pitch around a rookie just because he's one of the few guys who can actually hit in that lineup. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see how his season kind of shakes out as being, again, kind of the only guy that will hit consistently on that team.
Yeah, absolutely. My only concern is, he put up some big power numbers when he got called up last year. And that was surprising because, his entire time as a prospect in the Pirates system, his biggest concern was a lack of power. He could hit truly tremendous defense. That was always his calling card. Biggest question mark was, will he have any power outside of, hitting the gap, getting doubles, being able to run them out? He just didn't have the home run numbers in the minors. Comes up to the majors and absolutely blow those expectations out of the water. I really hope he could keep it up. I really think he will, but there is that question mark there. Regardless, Cabrian Hayes was again a layup for Rookie of the Year.
I will say though, the exact same thing happened to Gleyber Torres. He was not a power hitter in the minors, and now he's a reliable 30 to 35 home run guy when he was never that prospect. And people said the exact same thing after his rookie season when he, mashed a bunch of dingers and it's like, that's not who he is. We shouldn't count on that. And then he just keeps doing it. So
right.
Who the fuck knows?
Complain. Yeah. Ride it into the storm.
It's hilarious. You know who has the highest expected or projected WAR on the Pirates for first base?
Fucking what's his name? Derek Jeter's best friend.
Todd Frazier opted out.
Yeah. He opted out?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. When did he do
it was
that?
a day or two ago. Apparently the Pirates were going to cut him and he asked to be opted out. It was something I think to do with a contract situation. I don't remember the specifics of it. It was like a weird technicality. Like he asked to not get cut so he could opt. I think there was a thing with it. I don't remember, but yeah, he opted out.
Maybe something with guaranteeing his money for this year and saving rolling it over for next year. Maybe he could make the team next year. I don't know.
Maybe it has something to do with entering free agency. It's a part of baseball industry that we're just not going to know. It is a tie between three guys for 0 WAR.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I imagine Colin Moran is one of the three.
Colin Moran is there. Phillip Evans and Will Craig are both projected to also hit 0. Eric Gonzalez projected at negative 0.2. No idea who these people are.
I've not heard of 3 of those 4 guys.
At second base, the Pirates have an expected 1.5 WAR coming in from Adam Frazier. And then between Kevin Newman, Cole Tucker, Eric Gonzalez, and Rodolfo Castro, all of whom are tied with 0 expected WAR. At shortstop, the Pirates have Kevin Newman expected to get 0.5 WAR and Cole Tucker to get 0.1 WAR at short, with Eric Gonzalez and Rodolfo Castro expected to get 0. And then at third base, Phillip Evans and Colin Moran are expected to get 0.1 WAR. Eric Gonzalez is expected to get 0 WAR. And Cabrian Hayes at 2.9 really sticks out.
Where's Brian Reynolds on there?
Brian Reynolds is listed here in left field at 0.3 WAR. He's the highest WAR getter in left field. The highest expected WAR getter in right field is also Brian Reynolds at 0.6. After Brian Reynolds, it's Dustin Fowler at 0.1. Do
you have totals, a total number, just to see who the top overall WAR projections are for the Pirates?
Oh, that's what I'm getting to. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So that was left field, right field. That was center field. Right field. Highest expected WAR getter is a 4-way tie with 0. Gregory Polanco, who's expected to be the regular everyday starter, is expected to get negative 0.1 WAR, which means that Cabrian Hayes is expected to get the most WAR on the team, 2.9, a fucking rookie. The next guy after him is supposed to be Jacob Stallings, getting 1.6 WAR. Adam Frazier at 1.5, and those are the only 3 people on the Pirates expected to get over 1 WAR, which is a very, very low bar to cross.
fuck, that team is bad. Like as
One
much as
to 2 WAR is replacement level. That's what that is.
I forget where the poll was, but I imagine it was either on Reddit or Twitter, just asking about who the face of the Pirates was at this point. And I mean, the runaway favorite was Cabrian Hayes, despite playing in like a quarter of an MLB season. He's the only person worth really anything in Pittsburgh right now for the Pirates. And as much as I want him to be the face of the franchise for the next decade, because, you know, as a person, as a player, he deserves to be the face of a franchise. I hate that it's going to be with the Pirates, and I'd love to see him go to a team that will actually fucking utilize him.
Or, you know, the Pirates turn a corner, which they could have when they had an opportunity in 2011 through 2015, and then just decided not to. But we'll see. God, fuck them for ruining Andrew McCutchen's prime years, but whatever. All right, let's move into comeback player of the year. For the American League, I originally wrote Jameson Taillon because I've picked Jameson Taillon the last 2 seasons. And you know, he's just been hurt and it's been not his fault, but I picked him the last 2 seasons and he hasn't come back. This year, and I wrote Jameson Taillon's name again because he's on the Yankees and I really wanted to pick him. But this year I have to give the nod, my prediction to a great story in baseball, to Trey Mancini coming back from cancer, to already be hitting relatively well in spring training and, you know, set to start the season cancer free.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, the first name I wrote down here was Jameson Taillon, and I thought, I think that's what Josh is going to pick. And there's so many people here, and then I wrote down Trey Mancini, and then I was like, I have Shohei Otani winning MVP. I probably should have him as comeback player of the year to, you know, go with it. I remember you always giving me shit for hedging my bets, so I stuck with Shohei Otani. All three of them,
great choices.
Yeah, all 3 of those guys are, in my mind, you know, gonna be it's a 3-horse race in my mind with those 3 guys. So I'm hoping all 3 of them are right there.
And what's great is all 3 of them are in a really good position to succeed. You know, Trey Mancini, he just needs to get through a season and have his health, and that's a win. Jameson Taillon just needs to pitch a relatively significant number of innings. Not even a lot, just a relatively significant number. That's a win. And Shohei Otani just needs to get through a season pitching to some extent, some number of innings on a regular or somewhat regular basis and hitting on a regular basis. And that's a win. All 3 guys have a very reasonable chance of having success this season for what it would look like for people coming back from their various illnesses and ailments. But yeah, it's always fun. For National League, I went with St. Louis Cardinal flamer Jordan Hicks, coming back from elbow injury that left him out basically all last season. So here's to Jordan Hicks throwing 195 miles an hour without seemingly trying very hard.
I will say, as much as I hate the Cardinals, Jordan Hicks has always been, you know, the only player there that I genuinely enjoy watching and look forward to watching when he comes in. I went with Steven Strasburg. Only pitched 83 innings last year. I fully expect him to come back and really, you know, get back to being Steven Strasburg. And, you know, honestly, I didn't think of Jordan Hicks. That would have been a really, really good selection. Alex Reyes is another guy for the Cardinals who, another flamethrower who would be a good pick here if he can come back healthy. But, you know, Steven Strasburg's my guy.
I'm with you. Yeah. Sorry, right. I'm just looking at Steven Strasburg's season last year. Oh no, he only pitched 5 innings last season.
Where the fuck did I get 83 from?
I have no idea. I was gonna say 83. That almost sounds like a full season. No, he pitched 5 innings last year.
83.
Wow.
The year before, how many did he pitch? He pitched a full
209.
Season, right? I read it, like I was reading an article about Steven Strasburg just to see what the injury was, and I thought it had said 83, but
I don't know. But
me, I guess. Yeah.
5 innings last season, 2 starts.
Oops.
Wow. Yeah.
83 pitches, maybe.
Ooh, that's an interesting guess. Let me look at his splits and find out. Hold on. Come on, Josh. You searched the word pitch on a pitching stats page. Why are you surprised there are so many results?
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. Yeah, wow. I just feel like an idiot now. Pitch count. Wait, what? Pitches 1 through 20. Oh, that's not what I thought pitch count was. Oh.
God damn it, Joshua.
Yeah, all right. I didn't find it by searching, and I'm not going to spend much more time embarrassing myself. So we're just going to move on.
I'm just going to search for it to see if I can find it.
Manager of the year. So I didn't pick him last season. Wait, did I? I didn't. Okay. I'm going with Aaron Boone, which usually would be a layup. And he's taken his team to the playoffs each of his first 3 seasons as a manager. He won 100 games in each of his 2 full seasons. Last year was a bit of a struggle for the Yankees, but last year injuries were a bitch, and the team struggled in a lot of places. But he, despite all of his success, going to ALCS, what?
Steven Strasburg had 69 pitches in his first game, 14 in his second, for a total of 83 pitches.
There you go. Makes sense. Anyway, Aaron Boone, who manages a very successful team, a very big name team, literally the biggest name in baseball. I've avoided him relatively recently, and I think this year seems like a good year for him to kind of get his recognition. Not that I don't think any team necessarily needs it because it's manager of the year, but Kevin Cash finally got over the hump and won that award last season. I think people are going to look at Aaron Boone and say he's accomplished a lot. If the Yankees are also good this season, and finish above 95 wins or so, it'll be his turn, so to speak. Is how I'm kind of making. So I'm not leaning on it so much as a Yankees bro kind of pick, more so just I think I'm trying to think how the way a large group of voters would think about this. So there's my AL Manager of the Year pick, Aaron Boone.
Yeah, this is one where I really wanted to find someone just outside the box, and just digging through the AL this year. The
could have gone with Tony
runner,
Larussa.
The front runner was the White Sox. Like, I think they're going to be the team that comes up and really, exceeds expectations, even though everyone's saying that, so their expectations are now significantly higher. I just refuse to give that to Tony La Russa, because Tony La Russa is a piece of shit.
We went through the same thought process.
Yep. So I went with Aaron Boone. All right. Josh, we need to be different people.
We can't be, man. And you know what's funny, man, is both of us sat down and said, all right, here's what the other person's going to do. Let's not do that. And even when we didn't think that, we still had the same thought process on all of these picks. And I sat there and I was like, I have to pick people Corwin's not going to pick. And God damn it. Anyway. All right. And I bet we picked the same guy for National League Rookie Manager of the Year. I picked Jace Tingler.
I picked Chase Tingler. I mean, that was one that I had written in before I even did predictions. Just like Jace Tingler's kind of the layup pick for me this year. I mean, Martinez, sure, like, the Dodgers are going to be great, but the Padres haven't really been all that great before. So Jace Tingler was my guy, and I'm very, very confident with that pick.
Yeah.
And I will say, significantly closer competition than what's going on in the AL.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was a tougher choice, but I at the same time felt more confident in picking it because what the Padres are doing is so exciting. It is so much fun, and having a manager that can, handle a room full of great veterans and great young guys and rookies is important, and I think that's going to be looked upon very favorably, especially having to go up against the Dodgers 19 times this season. This will be a good year for Jay Stingler to kind of get a lot of looks as manager of the team.
Absolutely. I just hope he learns how to manage guys who swing on 3-0 counts.
Yeah, quit being such a bitch, Chase.
Haha.
Your name has a Y in it, you fucking loser. Anyway. All right. World Series champions. Actually, yeah, no, give me your World Series champion. Who do you got? Oh, wait, I start. Sorry, I start. Sorry, I forgot.
That's not even why I'm shaking my head, but go ahead.
I picked the Dodgers. They have. Oh God, did we pick the same team?
Oh fuck no! I'm just upset you picked the Dodgers.
I did. I obviously want to write the Yankees in there every single season we do this. However, the Yankees have a lot of problems, or at least they took a lot of gambles. And that's not to say that won't pay off for them, because if it pays off to even a mild extent, they are good. They are good. But the Dodgers seem like just such a safe bet. Their pitching depth is genuinely offensive. Their hitting depth is stupid. And while they probably won't have necessarily as easy a road into the playoffs as the Yankees almost certainly do, since the Dodgers will have to actually play a, very, very good other team in their division, and the Yankees kind of don't, because the Rays got a lot worse this offseason. So the Yankees will probably, I don't want to say coast, but they'll have an easier time getting in. I think that the Dodgers are just so well positioned for a repeat. But rooting for the Yanks anyway. Who'd you pick, Corwin?
The Padres, man. I don't know how I could not. Yeah, no, definitely pick the Padres. I think they go all the way. I think it's going to be a serious battle between them and the Dodgers, obviously. But got to pick my boys to come out on top.
I'm with you. It would be fun. I'll tell you. I tell you what. All right. So then, real quick, actually, just because I'm curious, I wanted to hear. I didn't prep this. I hope you didn't either. First, take gut reactions on who wins each division. All right. So I'm going to say the division
I gotta
name.
pull up the divisions.
I'm going to say the division name. I just want to hear first team that comes to your mind as division winner. So we'll do this in the same order we always do this in, because it's just how it's always presented on Baseball Reference. AL East.
Yankees.
AL Central.
White Sox.
Yeah, White Sox. AL West.
Athletics.
Houston. I'm gonna stick with they're getting Verlander back for the full season. He didn't pitch.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We're doing hot takes, or quick takes, I should say. These aren't necessarily hot. NL East.
Mets.
I'm going to stick with the Braves.
It feels dirty to say, but Mets.
I know, because they're going to disappoint you, because the Mets had a 120 OPS plus as a team last season and still finished last in their division. So fuck it. NL Central.
Brewers.
I'll go Cardinals, but I don't feel good about any team in this division. NL West.
Padres.
Dodgers. All right. It'll be interesting.
I admit that was a fully homer pick, but I don't care.
You're allowed to have them. That's the point of being a fan.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the actual bold predictions. I have one carryover from last year because it's still bold and I still think it could happen. I started with the awards. Do you want to start with the bold predictions? Do you want me to start with the bold predictions as well?
I'll start with the bold predictions. Why not?
All right, let's hear it. What's your first one?
This is coming back from my awards predictions, as they usually do. Shohei Otani is a finalist for the Cy Young, wins AL MVP and the Silver Slugger.
Very nice. My first one is hot. I'm coming in hot on the first one. This is bold. This is very bold. Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon each pitch for over 120 innings.
Ooh, I want it to happen. I don't know how I feel about it, but I want it to happen.
I know. Hold on one second. I had something up. Hold on. I had a thing up for this.
Guys,
Damn
he
it,
had a
Josh.
thing.
Oh, all right. I got it. So as it stands right now, I'd looked for full reference. I looked up these after I did my predictions, so there's no confirmation bias. Um, Corey Kluber, per his Zips projection, is expected to throw 119 innings. So doing 120 would be over his projection. So that's not it's not horribly bold. It's still relatively bold coming back from that elbow injury, but it's not horribly bold. Jameson Tyone, on the other hand, who has not pitched since 2019, his Zips projection is 106.3, 106 and a third innings, which he would be exceeding by at least 2 or 3 starts, probably more like 3 starts. So that one could get a little bit more bold, especially since he's going to be starting off a little bit slower. The Yankees implemented a very interesting system, which is Garrett Cole pitches every 5 days and everyone else pitches every 6 days, as a way to spread out the bullpen usage and also ease Jameson Tyone in by giving him and Kluber extra days of rest, baked into the season, and giving Cole that extra level of consistency. So it'll be interesting to see. That is a very homer prediction. We'll see.
Hey, man, I hope they both do well. I'm a fan of both those guys, so.
They're great.
My number 2 is also kind of hot. I don't even know if it's ever even been done before. Both the Dodgers and Padres finished the season with at least 100 wins.
Yeah, the Red Sox and Yankees did this like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Wow, that fucking sucks. I thought that was cooler.
Yeah, Red Sox got 108 wins and the Yankees got 101. It was Aaron Boone's first season as manager.
Man, I should have done any research whatsoever. Just 30 seconds worth of Googling.
Oh, who cares? This is still bold, though. It'll be interesting to see, because the Diamondbacks, I'm going to imagine, are worse, because I don't know what their pitching is anymore since they lost a couple guys to free agency and, don't have Greinke around, although that's a couple seasons of old news at this point.
Basically, the Astros are looking at...
Astros?
Oh, sorry. Who are you talking about?
Diamondbacks.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you were talking about... you mentioned Greinke. I just immediately thought of the Astros.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if both the Dodgers and Padres will have the ability to feast on the rest of the division, because I don't think any team in that division's really getting appreciably better. The Rockies fucking ain't. That's for goddamn sure.
So it looks like they have Mad Bum, Zach Gallen, Caleb Smith, Luke Weaver, Joaquim Soria, Alex Young. No one exceptionally dangerous other than Zach Gallen.
Yes, the ever dangerous Zach Gallen.
Hey, man, I'm a big fan of Zach Gallen.
Zach Allen?
Gallen with a G.
Zach Allen.
Are you making...
Zag Allen.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
All right. So for my next bold prediction, this might not sound very bold, but it is relatively bold. That is no batter hits over 45 home runs. Now, there is supposedly a deadening of the ball happening this season. Supposedly. So I am hypothesizing that we see a relatively steep drop-off in home run production. Not very steep, but a noticeable depreciation in home run production. I originally had it set to 50, but 50 home runs doesn't happen. Like, it's not a lock for every year for that to happen. It has, discounting 2020, it happened in 2019. It happened in 2017. It happened in 2013, but that, there's gaps there. 45 home runs not happening hasn't not happened, I guess, since 2014. When in the National League, Giancarlo Stanton led the National League with 37, and Nelson Cruz, On the Baltimore Orioles, Nelson Cruz led with 40 in the American League.
I don't remember that whatsoever.
No. Now, it is less common as you go, a little bit back between kind of like 07 and 2014. No one hit 45 home runs in 2012. No one hit 45 home runs in 2011. And then you actually have to go back a fucking ways for no one to hit 45 home runs again. Well, now I'm in steroids era. Ooh, fun. But regardless, 45 home runs, it might not seem like that too bold of a prediction, but 45 home runs happens a lot. So for us to not get there, I think would be noticeable. So that's where I'm going.
Fair enough. My number 3, each of the top 5 starting pitchers on the Padres finish with a sub-4 ERA.
Ooh.
Not terribly bold considering how good they are, but again, don't know the last time that's happened. It doesn't seem exceptionally crazy, but I think it will be exciting to watch. One of those homer picks.
It'll be interesting because the only real competition they have is the Dodgers.
Right.
The Giants have just as hard a time hitting in that stadium as the Mets do in Citi Field. Not to say that the obviously disproportionate levels of success in each of those stadiums, but the Giants are not a great hitting team. The Diamondbacks are a mixed bag of talent, and the Rockies are hot flaming shit. They have Trevor Story. They have the living husk of Charlie Blackmon, and 7 other guys who will put on Rockies uniforms.
That is correct.
Lineup.
They do have other guys there.
Yeah, I mean, they paid $50 million to get rid of their best player. So to see all these guys feast on poor hitting, I don't think is the world's wildest assumption. So this is it'll still be hard. I'm not trying to make Corwin sound like a bitch. But it's
true.
This one very much so could happen, which is the best type of bold prediction.
Yeah.
My next one is only bold because the Pirates suck. And that is that Jack Leiter will make his MLB debut this season after the Pirates take him first overall. So the first part of that needs to happen is if the Pirates take him first overall. I think that's kind of a given at this point. He had another 7 no-hit innings this weekend, which means 16 straight no-hit innings as he threw a no-hitter prior. I mean, the kid's fucking ridiculous. The only tough part about it is that the Pirates going like, yeah, let's call him up and start paying him early, which again happened with Chris Sale and the White Sox, who were at the time considered, not a great organization. But the Pirates truly are something else. So this is bold only because it's the Pirates in my mind, but we shall see.
Oh yeah. That's bold because again, the Pirates money's fucking stupid. My number 4, I know how to count. Thank you. Juan Soto finishes the season with an OBP greater than 500, the first to do it since Barry Bonds in 2004.
ODB. Finishes with an old dirty bastard over 500.
I'm glad we both immediately, or at least I knew immediately it was going to be old dirty bastard.
On the ODB, as you can see. Yeah. Yeah, that would be fun. I mean, that's one of the things that makes Juan Soto. Oh, baby, I like it raw. Anyway. That's one of the things that makes Juan Soto such a great fucking hitter, in addition to a fun dude to watch. You got to fucking throw strikes, man. The dude does not swing out of the zone. He takes his goddamn walks.
Outside of the Padres and everything they do, I don't know if there's anything I enjoy watching more than Juan Soto doing the Soto shuffle after taking a pitch. Like it's up there with, Matt Chapman getting deep in his stance and making a great play at third, watching Aaron Nola's just crazy curveball, just lock guys up. But I fucking love the Soto shuffle. Like irrationally love that fucking shuffle.
I can hear him saying under his breath, "You fucking bitch," every time he does it. And he obviously doesn't because he's too nice of a guy. But if I was him, I wouldn't be a nice guy. And that's what I would say.
I'm fairly certain he came out. I don't know if this is a direct quote or if this is just something that was assumed that he says, but he walks up to the plate every time and locks eyes with the pitchers and just basically says, "I am better than you and I know it." And that's how he approaches every single at bat, and I adore it.
Yeah, this is a guy who's in the 89th percentile of strikeout percent, which means he barely strikes out, and is the 73rd percentile for whip percent, which means when he swings, he does not often miss. And that doesn't necessarily mean he gets a hit. It just means that he makes contact with the pitches he chooses to swing out, which is what's important. So, God, he is I know he's in a weird position because baseball fans, even casual baseball fans, all know who Juan Soto is. And I really think that with a full season of Juan Soto, he's already broken out, all that shit, already won a World Series. But I think a full season of Juan Soto's big fucking personality and being amazing at baseball, plus with all the stories being written about him, could be the year that, zeitgeist-wise, he really breaks out and becomes, a little bit of a pop culture figure because the dude is so much fucking fun.
Absolutely.
Just for reference, because I said it, Mike Trout's K percent. Ooh, you know what percentile Mike Trout is in for K percent?
What percentile?
Yes.
98.
45th. In 2020.
I guess it has shot up a lot as he's kind of been selling out for power more. I do remember that being a storyline.
Yeah, his whiff percent still he's still in a very high percentile for his whiff percent, 82nd, which is 9 percentile points above where our boy Juan Soto is. But yeah, that K percent is sneaking, is falling down there. But anyway,
I don't remember ever using whip as a batter statistic.
Yes, it exists.
Okay. Learn something new every day.
Well, maybe you
sometimes.
do. Yeah.
Sometimes.
My next one is for me. It's fun. I mean, all these are for me, but this one's just for fun. Tim Anderson has a 30 for 30 season.
Anderson. Ooh,
he's come close a couple times, and by kind of so obviously 2020 you got to ignore it because it's just the numbers aren't going to be high enough. But in 2019 he got 18 home runs and 17 stolen bases. In 2018 he got 20 home runs and 26 stolen bases. So he gets both in a pretty close proximity of each other because he's a fast dude and he has some pop. I am hoping he gets a burst of power because to kind of boost him up to the 30 home runs. Because I think if the White Sox let him, the stolen bases can be there, and if Tony Larussa is the worst and goes with not analytics, that might mean he'll give some of his players more leeway, to run a more old school baseball style where you can steal more bags. So I think that this might be his best shot at getting 30 stolen bases this season due to the shitty old man factor. And in addition to the fact that Tim Anderson's a very good baseball player, but to see some pop off of him would also be super fun. So it's bold because he has not come quite close to 30 home runs. His biggest season was 20 in 2018, so we have to add 10 to that. But at the same time, I love Tim Anderson, so I'm going with 30.
I love Tim Anderson so much. Not as much as you. I will say you are a definite, stan for Tim Anderson, which not a bad thing.
Love Tim Anderson.
My next prediction is Cabrian Hayes is an all-star at third base this year.
Oh, I love that. Also, who on earth else would the Pirates send to the game?
I genuinely forgot that they had requirements to have guys.
Yeah, it's like
Okay, that's no longer a bold prediction. That's a guaranteed point for Corwin this
lock
season.
it in.
Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
because remember the season 2017 or 18 at the Orioles like lowest, and they still
Johnny
sent
Means.
Johnny Means,
Yep.
who had like a 4.5 ERA at the
Yep.
time.
Yep. Oh god, that was bad. I think there needs to be a bar. Like a bar needs to be set. Ugh.
Yeah, literally, who else would the Pirates send? Oh, that's so funny.
No one. They have no one else.
That's so funny. I love it. I love it. All right. For my fifth bold prediction, it depends on how the season goes, whether this ends up being bold or not. But I have Max Scherzer gets traded at or before the deadline. Specifically, part two, to the Yankees.
Okay.
Now, the Yankees did a lot to make sure that they stayed under the luxury tax threshold. They did leave some room in there, and everyone said, "Ooh, maybe it'll be for a trade." And if they were to make a trade, I could only really picture it being for pitching. Their lineup is still very good, even though Luke Voigt got surgery today and is going to be out for a couple months. They're still a very, very well-rounded hitting team. And I think there's a lot of pressure on them this season because of a lot of the trades that they didn't make over the last few seasons that look really bad in retrospect, like not trading for Zach Greinke, which worked out phenomenally for the Astros, and not trading for Justin Verlander, which worked out phenomenally for the Astros, and not trading for Garrett Cole, which worked out phenomenally for the Astros. Now that those all just happened to be to one team, but point being, those were all trades that Yankees media and Yankees fans talked about ad nauseum that would have worked out for the Yankees if they wanted to open up the pocketbook, and they just chose not to.
You could even look at Darvish and Snell this year, where they were taken at bargains, with seemingly no other teams really putting out serious offers.
Right. I mean, and that was because the Yankees were trying to do their whole payroll finagling, and they had an idea of what that looked like in their mind. There's enough room that once we get to the trade deadline point, the remaining salary on Scherzer's contract, I'm not sure what it'll really be, since it's they do these things on a per game basis. But I would assume that with some level of salary retention, and maybe some cutting of players on the Yankees end, which I would, or trading away of players in return to shift their salary burdens, it could end up going that way. I picked the Yankees just to make this a little bit more specific, to make it more of a challenge. In reality, this is Scherzer's last season on contract with the Nationals, and if the Nationals aren't looking right, if they're not poised to compete come trade deadline, it would make the most sense for them to trade Scherzer. He's just not part of their future. He's 36. 37. 30. I'm going to say 36.
He old.
Yeah, it just makes more sense for them to I would think, to move on than to try to squeeze another 1 to 2 years out of him in all likelihood. So Scherzer trade to the Yankees. That's my bold prediction number 5.
I'm a fan. My number 6 is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits 40 home runs, which I will say seems not as bold as it actually really is. He hit 9 as a rookie. He hit 15 last year as a sophomore. Baseball Reference only has him projected for 20 home runs, so I have him doubling those predictions. Words are hard, hitting 40 total home runs.
I hope it doesn't. I hope it happens, and none of them are against the Yankees.
I hope it happens. I'm not going to be that picky.
Fair enough.
I hope he figures it out. He has too beautiful of a swing and too much potential to leave us disappointed.
Well, he lost a ton of weight he looks great. They're moving him to first base so that he has he's got a less taxing position on him. Might help out with his durability. Might help out with his confidence a little bit. Because I'm as seemingly non-interconnected as those two things are, it must be so hard going up to hit after you've made like 2 errors in a game and are just having the worst time. So this could be a really good season for him, especially with the rest of his lineup maturing and getting a little bit of extra protection in the lineup with George Springer coming in whenever his injury is done. Anyway, I like this one. All right.
Thanks, dude.
Moving on. This one is bold-ish. These actually feel really tame in comparison to years past, which is saying something. My next one is the Orioles are buyers at the deadline.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
So last year I predicted that the Orioles would finish above 400, which was saying something because they had not done so for a season or two. And I was right. So my rationale here is that the Orioles have a lot of holes, and I don't think they'll be able to fill them with draft picks, at least in the immediate. And I don't think they'll be able to call up enough talent to fix them either. And I think that if the Orioles want to start bringing up talent and not have that be fucking wasted, they're going to have to acquire players eventually. And maybe they'll actually take on, I'm not saying they're going to be trading for, Greinke or Scherzer or whatever, but I think that there's a chance that they try to accelerate a little bit their rebuild. Jesus Christ. Accelerate their rebuild a little bit and end up actually taking on some players at the deadline away from teams that are just not going to make the playoffs and looking to shed some talent.
Hey, it's bold.
It's bold. It's bold.
It's definitely bold.
It's very the Orioles currently don't have a starting second baseman. Like, it's really bold.
Oh my God, the Orioles! What the fuck, guys?
They literally just cut their starting second baseman, in theory, to save $750,000. Yeah, it is dark in Baltimore, man, but you gotta start winning eventually. So
okay, what are you gonna do now, Buck? Will forever be one of my favorite audio clips in all of baseball.
So good.
My number 7, Fernando Tatis, knew he had to make an appearance here somewhere, and Ronald Acuna are the 5th and 6th members of the 40-40 Club.
Fuck off.
No.
I
think this is genuinely doable. I think both of them are in a place where they can get there. I think they're both have the opportunity and skill to do so. The boldness is really taken up a notch by having both of them get in.
All right.
Listen. Process over results. It's the prediction that they are both going to be in the battle for it. Even if they both don't get there, I'm okay with it as long as it's a race.
This is bold. This is very bold. My next one is interesting. Toronto bats as a team a greater than a 120 OPS plus. They also pitch as a team under an 85 ERA plus. Now, Toronto's hitting last season. As a team, they batted a 109 OPS plus, which means they have to tack on 11 points of OPS plus. It's 11 percentage points better than average as a team that have to bat. They're adding George Springer, which should do a lot to help that, especially since, in theory, George Springer would be taking the bat out of, I guess, Randall Grichuk's hand, with George Springer's career average OPS plus being significantly greater than the career average of Randall Grichuk's. Let me actually get those numbers in front of me. I have 9,000 tabs open. It is the Josh Tracy way. That's how
I was about to say that is the least surprising thing ever.
Yep, I can't tell what any of them are. George Springer's career OPS plus is 132. Randall Grichuk's career OPS plus is 106. So that's a 26-point addition in career OPS plus. In the last, I'll go with 2019 because it's a full season for both players. Randall Grichuk, a 93 OPS plus. George Springer 151. Even last season, which was a great year for Randall Grichuk, with a 115 OPS plus, George Springer still outperformed him by 25 points to a tune of 140. Now that doesn't make up the whole difference for from a team perspective, but the additional lineup flexibility that having a guy who bats that fucking well will give you, I think, is doable. The really interesting part will be the pitching side of it. Last season, their pitching was not great. It was a 95 ERA plus, but this prediction requires them to lose 10 points of ERA plus, get 10% against average worse than league average, and it's sad that that is also very likely to happen. They are literally one single Hyun-Jin Ryu injury away from that being almost a certainty.
Which is terrifying because it's a lot of eggs in a single basket.
Yeah, I mean it's just a scary level of lack of, I guess, depth coming out of the Blue Jays. I mean, I think there's still going to be a good team on the back of their hitting, but I mean, if you look at their starting pitching depth is Hyun-Jin Ryu, Robbie Ray, who I think is currently hurt, Tanner Roark, Steven Matz, who is like, I mean, injury personified.
Mm-hmm.
Nate Pearson, who I'm not entirely sure of who he is, but he's day to day.
Top 10 prospects coming in as a first year starter.
Gotcha. Then Ross Stripling, Trent Thornton, Tyler Chatwood, TJ Zook, Anthony Kay, who is also currently day to day, and Tommy Malone. I mean, it's hideous. There are two players on this team projected to get over 150 innings pitched, Hyun-Jin Ryu and Robbie Ray. And after that, it's wacky. So
yeah, that's not a whole lot of confidence.
No.
All right. Sticking with pitching, my number 8, each of the top 5 vote getters for the NL Cy Young Award come from the NL East. NL West. I don't know why I said East. It's written West. I know it's West. Definitely not going to be East. East. Ah, yes.
That's West, Patrick.
Basically, you have all of the starters from the Dodgers, all of the starters from the Padres. You have Herman Marquez from the Rockies. You got Zach Gallen. If you want to throw Mad Bum in there from the Diamondbacks,
that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But it's basically, that cuts out Jack Flaherty. That cuts out, Corbin Burns from the Brewers, Woodruff from the Brewers, Max Scherzer, Max Fried, Aaron Nola. The big one is Jacob deGrom. How Jacob deGrom doesn't finish top 5 in NL Cy Young, it's a good question. I don't know, but that's really that's going to be the big hump to get over this year with this prediction.
All right. That'll be interesting. I mean, it certainly could happen with the immense quantity of talent on the mound.
You just never know.
My next one also isn't that bold, but will still be hilarious to watch happen. And that is that no NL Central team will get 90 wins. Now, 90 wins is not a very strong threshold to cross. It's tough. It's like tough to win your division and not get 90 wins. But the Cubs look like a dumpster fire, especially losing Darvish. The Reds are a mess. The Pirates are garbage. The Brewers are a mess. The Cardinals have a team. They've got some batting. Can I interest you in some batting? And we have a few guys who pitch. And I don't have any level of confidence in anybody to scrape out enough meaningful wins to cross the 90-game threshold.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, outside of Brian Hayes at All-Star, which now realize is a gimme. This might be the easiest one to get. Like this, I don't like any of these teams to hit 90 wins at this point. Ooh, it's an ugly division, but we knew that.
It's just fucking hideous. Um, yeah. So the last full season, 2019, the Cardinals did win the division. Do you remember how many wins they got?
91.
91.
Holy shit.
Just got it. Before that, the year before that, Brewers won the division with 96 wins. Cubs had 95, so two teams crossed that threshold. But I mean, I don't like the odds. Anyway, Corwin, your next one.
All right, my next prediction: Lance McCullers outperforms Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke as the Astros' top pitcher in 2021.
That's bold.
It is quite bold.
That's very
but
bold.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. They're both getting way up there in age, way past that 35 mark. Hey, man, time is undefeated.
Hey, it doesn't take a lot of athleticism to throw Zach Greinke's Ephus pitch. He's just going to ride that baby to the sunset.
Oh, dude, I want Zach Greinke to just I said live forever. I meant play forever, but
no, Zach, whatever. I want you to die.
Yes.
One of my favorite players. I love Zach Greinke.
Wholeheartedly agree.
He's the best. All right. My next one is a very bold prediction. Like it's almost certain to not happen, but anyway, Trevor Bauer loses his spot in the rotation to either Dustin May or Tony Gonsolin.
I love it.
Now,
I love it because I want it to happen, but I love it because that is honestly a storyline I could totally see happening in 2021. Just pure chaos.
Well, that and the fact that this idea is born under the fact that the Dodgers, if Trevor Bauer is underperforming his rotation spot, fuck the contract for the time being, just his rotation spot, the Dodgers have so many other options for what they could do in that rotation spot, which is something that most other teams don't have. Most other teams that have an idea of what their playoff window looks like, and have a starting rotation that they have faith in, usually don't have 2 to 3 other dudes who could just get shoved into the rotation spot and like be good. So they just have to ride that shit out and hope that they can just eat whatever that player looks like and his contract and performance until they get to the playoffs and figure it out from there. The Dodgers don't have to do that. If Trevor Bauer is a net negative, and obviously with his contract, he's going to be one hell of a net negative, because there's going to be a lot of leniency when you're getting paid $40 million a year. But if he's seen as a net negative over one of Tony Gonsolin or Dustin May as a starter, the Dodgers could move him on from that spot. That involves Trevor Bauer being very bad and the Dodgers being convinced that their playoff window isn't enormous and they don't want to risk it by leaving anybody in a position to hold them back from either getting fucked in the playoffs or losing the division to the likes of the San Diego Padres. So,
boy, I do love the Padres.
That's right. Everyone likes pod racing. So that is
pod racing.
So that is my probably my boldest prediction, but I got another one up my sleeve for you. What's your next one?
Let's see. My final prediction: all teams play 162 game schedule, and there are no COVID outbreaks amongst teams.
Last year we had sad COVID predictions, and this year we have happy COVID predictions.
Yeah, baby, we're gonna have something.
Woo! Don't fuck it up, Miami. Woo!
Seriously.
Or you, St. Louis.
Or anyone.
Or you, Phillies? I think they had an issue too. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right.
Didn't
I also believe this because I think there was talk about MLB getting vaccine appointments for their players within the next like 3 to 6 weeks or something like that. So there's a non-zero chance that like a significant portion of starting MLB players are vaccinated come end of May, we'll say.
Which would be amazing.
Yeah, it really would be. All All right, so I actually have two final predictions because I had the one carryover from last year, but that felt cheap, so I have another one that's just it's another just for me one.
That's fine.
So my carryover one from last year is that Mike Trout does not finish top 5 in MVP voting. That was a bold prediction last year, and it barely got proven wrong as Mike Trout finished 5th in MVP voting. And this year, I think he's going to have just as hard of a time. I mean, the AL is a tough league. I was going to say conference, and I knew it wasn't right. And you're going to get a full season of Anthony Rendon. You're going to get a full season of Aaron Judge. You're going to get a full season of Giancarlo Stanton if both those guys actually end up staying healthy. There's a lot of talent that I think could put, because this prediction is not necessarily about Mike Trout. That's a little bit about Mike Trout, but it's mostly about how good the rest of the American League is going to get, combined with voter fatigue for the same ruling party that is Mike Trout. There's Shohei Otani. There's a lot of people who can make a leap forward and push Trout out of his top spot, or that he always resides in. But we shall see. That is a bold one. The other one that I have that is again just for me. Tony Larussa gets fired before the season ends. Now,
I love that.
Tony Larussa shouldn't have gotten hired. Tony Larussa should have gotten fired after the first DUI thing that came out earlier this year. Tony Larussa should have gotten fired after there was a pretty public resentment from members of the White Sox players. But Tony La Russa perseveres. And I hope that if the White Sox start sucking it up, and ownership looks at this guy who, if the White Sox start having problems, Tony La Russa will certainly be generating more problems because he's like 90 and has no concept over the youth of today, that you'd hope that that would spark it in ownership's mind to be like, yes, we should fire this man and hire a young person. We shall see. This is the same front office that hired him in the first place. Who the fuck knows? So that is that other bold prediction. So I technically had 11.
I'm a fan.
Them's the breaks. Yeah, man. Fucking anything else?
No, those are some fun predictions that we had this year. I'm actually very much excited to see how these all play out.
I think we're slowly getting better at this.
Yeah, it's only taken us, 10 years?
Yeah, something like that. It feels like it anyway. Yeah. All right. Cool. Those are our predictions. Lock them in. We'll keep tabs on them. We'll probably check in on them around the All-Star break, and then again after the season ends, but before the awards, just to see how we're doing. But keep an eye and an ear and a nose out for those. And we'll leave it there until it's time to give updates on them. So if you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at Juicing Pod. If you want to follow Corwin on Twitter, you can do so at Corwin Heller. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at Joshua D. Tracy. You can check out the show on YouTube. Fucking Google it. We don't got a link. It's in the description of this shit if you feel like it. I don't care. And if you want to hit us up via email, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. And then until Thursday, y'all have a good one.
Bye.